NFL Wildcard Preview. Welcome back to the Green Beans Go channel. It's your host, me. Hold on. It's time to change my decorations. The Seahawks let me down. A really bad stretch at the end of the year. Awful stretch, actually, where they lost 5 or 6 games in a row, and they missed the playoffs. So we'll be on to next year. I don't know what Seattle's going to do with Geno. I don't know what they're going to do with Drew Lock. There's a lot of quarterbacks in this draft. Part of me, the fan in me, is hoping maybe they take a guy in the first round and just rebuild. You know, if Drew Lock wasn't the guy, you had to bring in Geno, then yeah, that's not what this video is about. Let's talk about Wildcard Weekend. But before we do, shout out to the Michigan Wolverines yesterday. I thought Washington was going to be able to handle them, contain the running on defense. They did not. It was like every time Donovan Edwards was in, they thought it was a passing down, and so they kind of laid out of the box a little bit, and then he ran the ball twice for a 50-yard touchdown. So that was the difference in the game right there. Penix was under pressure all night, couldn't get anything going. So I'll admit I was wrong about that one. And as always, if you like the content, hit subscribe and like, baby, please, and thank you. Today's video is going to be very relaxed, low editing. We're just going to go through each of these matchups for Wildcard Weekend, talk briefly about them. I haven't done a ton of research, so this is just going to be spitfiring off my mind, stream of conscious type action and content. Okay, we're going to get started for real now. The first game of Wildcard Weekend is on Saturday, and it is the Browns visiting the Texans. The Texans do get home field advantage because of their AFC South win, division win, even though the Browns had a better record. So that's something interesting. Also takes place with Tampa Bay as well. This is a game that we saw recently. Okay, if we go down here, this game was Christmas Eve, I believe, or 2 days before Christmas, and Cleveland was able to win 36-22. Now, the big important piece of information is the fact that Davis Mills was the quarterback, and we know that C.J. Stroud did not play this game. So I don't think we can look at this and really take a ton from it. I mean, look at Joe Flacco's numbers, 368, 3 touchdowns. This is the game. Amari Cooper went absolutely insane, 265 yards. So I don't think we get that again. I don't even think it's close to that again. And I actually like, if we flip back over here, I actually like the Texans, I think, in this one. I've said it all year, the Browns defense does not travel as well as they play at home. And I think this is advantage Texans given that C.J. Stroud was out the first game. They haven't had a look at him on the field yet. So whereas this defense has had a look at Joe Flacco. So I like the Texans in this one. I like them to win the game outright. As for that total of 44.5, I think over would be the side I lean to. And again, this is just, guys, I wouldn't say that any of this is advice. You go put your money on any of this right now. This is just me kind of showing you how I think about things before I actually dive into some research. Just warming up the pipes a little bit with this video. So over 44.5, I know the Browns can give up points on the road, and we know the Browns can score points. So 44.5 is 3 touchdowns a team and a field goal for one of them, and you'd cash that over. So, I would say over 44.5, and the Texans is what I like in this one. The 8 o'clock game Saturday is Miami visiting the Chiefs. This is also a game that we've seen. Same situation, okay? The Dolphins, this was in Germany, actually, so this is not the same situation. But this Germany game was 14-21, very low scoring for both of these teams, and we can say that was probably Germany playing a bigger role than anything. Both quarterbacks under 200 yards the first meeting. Running backs did okay, 85 and 60 yards. Tyreek Hill against his old team. So I don't really know about this one, and I don't know because both of these teams are struggling. I would say these two teams plus Philadelphia are probably the teams with the least momentum going into the playoffs. And, you get the Chiefs as 3.5-point favorites over that key number of 3. And so it's tempting to take the Dolphins, but these are two teams that I've been down on all year. These are two teams that I've thought have been overrated or overhyped for the entirety of the season. So you're getting them to play each other, and now I'm forced to pick a side, and I don't know who to pick. I don't even have a clue. So I will probably personally stay away from this one. Obviously, I think Chiefs at home is is the advantage. And so if I did have to pick, I would probably take the Chiefs at home. But that 3.5 scares me. I can see a last-second field goal being the deciding factor. And this total is pretty low, 44 for two teams that have the ability at least to put up points, even though we know the Chiefs have not been able to do so. I think I would take the over in this one as well, just because, I don't think they're going to look at that Frankfurt game too in detail when deciding this total, but it was low scoring in that Frankfurt game. 14-21 is 35 points. This is 44, extra 10 points. I think we could get that here. So I would say Chiefs money line. Spread makes me nervous, and I guess I lean the over. But this is one that I will watch as a football fan, but I probably won't have much action on it. The first game on Sunday feels a bit disrespectful for the Bills to have the season that they did, where they had a pretty rough losing streak. They had more chance to miss the playoffs than to make it, and to struggle sometimes at the end of the season, although they did come away with results, but they were close results. To be 10-point favorites feels disrespectful to the Steelers. What really stands out to me is this Chargers game down here, where they were 12-point favorites, I believe, in that game, and they definitely didn't win by 12. Now, this game is at home. There's a lot more to play for. This is do or die. Like, I get all that, but 10 points just feels like way too many points, especially the way Mason Rudolph has been playing, which is that of a starting quarterback and is a guy that definitely will get signed somewhere, whether it's, again, with the Steelers or with another team, if not as a starting QB prospect, as a backup. I've really been impressed with what he's able to do at the end of the season. So, Steelers plus 10, I think I have to take. 10-point spread in the playoffs is just insane, especially when Mike Tomlin is on the other side. The more I talk about it, the more I'm still shocked that is so high. 35 points. I think both teams could touch 20 in this one. Now, the only thing is, I would keep your eye out for weather. I know that the Midwest and East Coast is getting a lot of weather this week, and especially Friday, Saturday. Now, they'll have it cleared off. They'll have it prepared, but I still think it could be very cold. It could be very windy. And so that is something that I would make sure you check out. And I haven't done so, guys. Like I said, I've done no research for this video. This is just me kind of talking about these games, podcast style, baby. So I don't know. 10 plus 10, and I would take the over unless that weather looks too ridiculous. I do like the Bills to win the game, but I think 4 to 7 points is probably the range that we would see most of all if this game was played 100 times and not 10. The Mike McCarthy rematch game, revenge game in this one, and I think this is a very simple read for me, at least behind two computer screens 1,000 miles away. And the read is that the Packers defense is just not good enough to keep up. And I think the Cowboys will be able to put up 35 points on this Packers team, and I don't think the Packers will be able to keep pace. Now, I know I said that last night about Washington and Michigan, and I was wrong. And I'll be willing to be wrong again, but this is a Packers team that gave up 30 to Carolina a few weeks ago. A couple other big, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but a couple other big totals this year. And I just think Cowboys are probably a top 3 offense in the league when they get to play in Dallas, and I think they'll be able to score 30 points on this team. 7.5 feels right. It feels fair. If that trickles down to 6.5, I do think you're getting some decent value on that 6.5. I don't think it will, though. 50.5 feels about right as well. I would probably take the under, which I know I just said that the Cowboys could score 30. And so then it's like, Packers get 3 touchdowns, it's over. But, I can see a 28-17 game in this one where it's just out of reach and Dallas can slow down the game at the end. Packers have been susceptible to the rush a lot this year, and Dallas is not a team that you just think rush-heavy offense. But I think when you have a team as dynamic as they do in the pass, and then you're also going to give them the option to run versus a middle-of-the-pack, no pun intended, defense, it spells trouble for the Packers. So I really like the Cowboys in this one. I realize they're minus 390, so there's probably not a ton of value in the money line, but I love this team, and I think they're going to go far. I do think they're going to go to the Super Bowl. They have to get over that hump in Santa Clara, most likely for the championship. I think they'll do that, but that's for another video. This was not a matchup we saw in the regular season, but it is a matchup that I am truly excited about, and it's probably the game I'm most looking forward to. I think this game will be high scoring. It'll keep people's interest, and it'll be just a fun one to watch. I like the Rams outright. I like the Rams on the money line, plus 152. The over-under 51 still feels high. Maybe I'd lean over. Maybe we get like a 28-24 game. We just barely cashed that. And here's the deal. I know the Lions have played well this year in certain spots, but there's been other spots where I have just not been impressed. Obviously, I was impressed at their game in Dallas. That was probably one of the most impressive games they played all year, even though they did not win that game. And we can talk about all the shenanigans at the end of that another time. In fact, I did in that video. But it just seems like the Lions are kind of wishy-washy, and the Rams have shown good results in almost every game. Never a game where the Rams in that felt like they weren't in. And I think that will be what we see in this one. And I think Stafford, how can you ignore the Stafford going back to Detroit storyline? I don't think you can. I think this will be a huge game for him. I think he'll see a lot of support. And I think the Rams will go into Detroit and they will get it done. So I like Rams on the money line. I love them plus 3.5. That over-under, I wouldn't touch. I wouldn't touch. And on Monday, the last game of Wild Card Weekend, we have the Buccaneers hosting the Eagles. This is something we saw in Week 3. The Eagles won 25-11, but I think it's a totally different game. And this is a weird one because it's the team that's struggling most in the NFC right now versus probably the weakest link in the playoffs in the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers get in because they win the NFC South, probably one of the weaker divisions in the NFL, if not the weakest division in the NFL. And so you're getting the weakest playoff team versus the most struggling playoff team. And I'm just not excited for this one. Jalen Hurts I can't see him missing the game, so he'll be in. I know A.J. Brown was hurt. I know Dallas Goedert may have gotten hurt in that game. It's just kind of a mess for this Eagles team. But all that to say, I think they're tired of hearing that. They're tired of people discussing them. They have had a tough schedule at the end of the year, playing a lot of teams that are in the playoffs or could have been in the playoffs. Whereas Tampa Bay struggled in some games where, teams are taking a top 4 draft pick, right? Those are the teams that they're struggling with. So I think there's just a difference in competition here, and I do think that there is value right now on Eagles minus 2.5, especially before we know the status of Hurts. I realize that you're kind of gambling on a gamble, right? It's a gamble that Hurts will play, and therefore you also have to gamble the minus 2.5 when the game kicks off. But I think that is a safe gamble or a safer gamble, given that we've seen a ton of players be injured before the playoffs, and they always find a way to get in there. So Eagles minus 2.5, I do think is good value. Eagles on the money line, I think is fine. That 44, I can see Tampa Bay scoring 10 to 14 points, and in that case, I don't know if the Eagles need to put up 30 points. So, as crazy as it sounds, maybe the under in this one, but I'm not touching this one until I do a little more research. So, I do think it's a good spot for the Eagles. I'd stay away from the total right now. Wait to hear more about the injury news. Let me know if you guys want a more detailed breakdown of these games where I actually dive into some more research and statistics. I'm happy to do that, and I probably will for my own sake. But making the video 50-50. So if you guys want a video like that, probably Wednesday, Thursday, Friday timeline, let me know. I'm also trying to figure out how to make these videos on my channel. I'm noticing that some of these videos have a smaller shelf life, right? I make a playoffs video, people only have 3 days to watch it, and then it will never be viewed again on YouTube, right? But I make some of these other videos like I have right here. These videos could be viewed for forever, and so there's a little bit more incentive for me to make some of these videos with a longer shelf life. So again, guys, I appreciate your patience as I'm trying to figure out this channel, trying to figure out what I'm really going to do with it. I think I have a good grasp on what I'm going to do with it. I think we're just going to keep doing what we've been doing. I'm having fun. I hope you're having fun. And remember, I love you, and we'll see you next time.